What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be actually installing the Akebono big brake kit on the QX70. So follow along. Hope you enjoy. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button, smash that thumbs up, and see what it takes. Alright, so for this job we got new rotors, we got new brake pads, banjo bolts, and a new dust guard. So we decided to start with the front brakes. Here we're removing the calipers and kind of want to make sure that the bigger Akebonos are going to match up. They're going to need the bigger rotor, obviously, and we're going to have to cut the brake shield, whatever you want to call it. So the calipers came off pretty easily. It was just 4 bolts that you have to unscrew. And now we're going to go ahead and remove this part of the shield. That way it's not blocking the rotor. Power tool was used to snip this off, and just go ahead and sand it down just so there's no jagged edges. We put on the new rotor and gave it a spin just to make sure that there aren't any clearance issues. Before disconnecting the brake line, we also made sure that the new caliper would fit and bolt up correctly. So here's the new banjo bolt on the left. It's smaller for the appropriate fitment into the Akebono caliper. For the rear brakes, it was not quite as simple as just cutting this piece off the shield. There was an issue here at the knuckle that did not allow appropriate fitment of the caliper. Basically, it wouldn't give you full coverage onto the caliper as designed, so we're going to have to remove it and replace it with a new one. So to replace the rears, we're going to remove the caliper just like on the fronts with the 4 bolts in the back. Then we're also going to have to remove the wheel hub assembly and all that, so the center bolt is going to have to come off. There's a pin that slides off, and then everything should come off pretty easily. So the wheel hub assembly was held in by 4 bolts here around the axle there. And then the brake shield itself is held in by 2 bolts that are below that you have to access from the rear here. And it came off pretty easily, luckily. So here's how it looks with everything removed. We're going to grab the FX50 brake shield and it should fit up nicely, and then go from there. Here's the old one. There's the new one. You can see the size difference for the larger rear rotor as well. Now here's how it looks with the hub back on, as well as the dust shield. So the biggest difference here, not only is the bigger size to fit the bigger caliper, a bigger rotor, and preserving the shield so that debris, salt doesn't get in. You also have this gap and cutout on either side here so that the caliper can properly slide in and get full coverage or appropriate coverage on that rotor. Now here's another look at where the bolts are for the calipers. Pretty easy to get to as long as you got the right size tool. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Alright, in this little clip, you have to remove this little safety pin here that will grant you access to the large axle bolt, whatever you want to call it, that allows you to take off the wheel hub assembly. Little finicky, but once it's out, it's pretty simple. Now, another component that I have not talked about is that you will have to remove the emergency parking brake in the rear, because the dust shield, whatever brake shield, that's the housing for it. It's a little tricky if you don't know what you're doing, so that's why I did take it to a professional to take care of it. It's not something I've ever done before, so I didn't want to mess it up.
There's a comparison between the new one and the old one, quite a bit bigger.
So I didn't get any video installing the new calipers, but basically they go right back on like you took them off. Replace the banjo bolt with the new shorter one using the washers that came with it. Once that's set up, this is bleeding the brakes, getting all the air out of it, and that's a crucial part to any brake job. Also, we made sure to fill up the brake fluid reservoir to appropriate levels.
Alright, so I hope everyone enjoyed this little video. Wasn't really a do-it-yourself type of video, although I did want to kind of walk everyone through the steps that we took to complete this conversion, show that it is possible to do it and how to do it the right way. I've definitely seen and read some things where people just either kind of hack at the rear brake dust shield and try to make the bigger Akebono calipers fit, or they just put it on and sacrifice full kind of fitment onto that rotor, which I definitely don't advise. That means you're going to have different pressures on brake pads, and I don't know if you would notice differing stopping power, but brake system is not something I'm willing to kind of mess with and take any risks with. So I'd rather spend the extra dollar and get it done right. Now, let's talk a little bit about price. Definitely was a little more expensive than I wanted to, but again, once I kind of committed, I was all in, so I had to keep going and, like I said, get it done the right way. The calipers were $500. I got those used, and then all the other hardware, new rotors, brake pads, the hardware to hold those pads in, the banjo bolt, and the brake shield. That was another almost $800 there. And then the paint was $72, which, if you didn't watch my video, check that out on how to paint it and what to do or not to do with the G2 paint kit, caliper paint kit that I used originally, and then what I ended up finishing with. So check that video out. So the total came to about $1,400, not including labor, just for the parts and refinishing the calipers by myself. I don't know, maybe you guys can comment if you have done a similar conversion in terms of how much you spent, but again, for a whole new system, not too bad, right? Brand new, upgraded, big brakes, the Akebono one piece that comes with the V8 model of the FX or the QX. And so what I did is I can share, I'll try to find the part numbers, but basically I went on Rock Auto and went to a 2014 FX50. So that's the one that comes with the Akebono stock. And I basically took the parts from there. That's how I got the heat shield. That's how I made sure I got the bigger rotors, the thicker rotors, and get everything matched up. Everything else bolts on nicely. I reused the brake lines. So that was really a time saver more than anything. And the car stops great as long as you bleed them appropriately. No air in the lines. Get some pretty sweet results. I definitely notice better stopping power. Hope you enjoyed. Remember to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and feel free to check out some of my other videos on my channel. I also don't want to forget and can't thank him enough is Frank down at Enzo's Garage for helping me out with this project. Definitely recommend you guys checking him out if you're in the area and if you need any mechanical services done to your car. I believe they service all makes and models. You won't be disappointed. And here's how she turned out. Check it out.